AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's rock!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Do so. And Mr. Toby Tomblay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Former St. Grade Stan Brock in 15 minutes from right now. We got a ton to do. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
LSU with some monumental news earlier today. Bert Jones, his number 7, the jersey will be retired in Tiger Stadium this November when LSU plays Texas. And we are very pleased to start the show today with none other than the Ruston Rifle himself. Bert Jones joins us on the show. Bert, it's a pleasure as always. Congratulations. Thank you for the time. How are you?
Matt, thank you very much. I'm having a very good day.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
But I would also imagine, Bert, you didn't find out today. I'm sure they called you some time ago to let you know this was coming. So maybe if you would walk us through how you found out, how they told you.
Well, honestly, I didn't know anything about this until late Monday afternoon. And Verge gave me a call and said, Bert, I want to be the first to tell you that we're going to retire your jersey and put you up on the wall in Tiger Stadium. And I'm going, oh, wait a minute. You mean like my roommate Tommy Casanova and Billy Cannon, Jerry Stovall, and Charles Alexander? That group? And he said, yeah. He said, you sure you didn't make a mistake? I thought that was for the really good players.
Well, I think everyone knows, and I think we love your humility and how modest you are, but everybody knows your track record well enough, and it's so well deserved. So you said Monday you found out, so it's been 48 hours. Has it sunk in? Have you allowed yourself any time to think about the honor?
Yeah. I mean, I have, and you know, I played with a lot of great players. I played with some great coaches through my high school, college, and pro careers, and had received a whole lot of accolades. Most of them probably not deserved, but without a doubt, this is at the top of the ladder. I mean, my name will be up there in the same stadium where my father played, my father's brother played, my first cousin, Andy Hamilton, and my brother Ben, and numerous friends and all the great players that have come through LSU and Baton Rouge. It's pretty special. It just doesn't get any better than that.
Who's, no doubt, yeah, I very much appreciate you replying to me today because I'm sure your phone is blowing up and people are reaching out to extend their congratulations and to reminisce a bit. Can you give us a little sampling of who you've talked to? How many people have reached out to you today?
No, It is absurd. From all the Mannings, of course, Archie and I have been dear friends since we were in college. I'll never forget my father, who, I kind of came from a world of football in that my father played. Actually, my father played for LSU as a freshman. Then when he turned 18, he joined the Navy. And his freshman year, he played and started as a running back and beat Tulane. And then since he joined the Navy, he didn't know it, I'm sure, is that the Navy school was not LSU. It was Tulane. And so then the next year he transferred to Tulane because he was in the Navy, as everybody during World War II did when they turned 18. But then he had the privilege of playing for Tulane and beating LSU. Nobody else in the history that I have found has done just that.
Wow.
So it's kind of a special deal, just being up there. And of course, the cream de la cream is, my roommate, Tommy Casanova. He and Mel Blount, I think, would be the greatest players I think I ever played with or against. I mean, just a phenomenal athlete, great tenacity on the field, just an unbelievable talent. So being up there with him is pretty special too. So this is pretty special, is all I can say. As good as it gets.
Bert Jones, number 7, will be immortalized there in Tiger Stadium on November the 14th. Bert, did you get to pick the game?
Well, as crazy as it sounds, yes, but I was already I normally come to a couple of games, and my grandson, my oldest grandchild, lives in Seattle, and he is just beginning to play high school football, which is really the first organized tackle football that he's played, and he's really a salty little athlete and extremely talented soccer player. And so, I said, why don't you, before you start looking around all these other schools, come down here and look at LSU? It's a pretty nice place to be. We got great hunting and fishing, and I know you like that. And they have as good a sports as anybody in the world, better than most. Mm-hmm. And I said, why don't we go to a game? And so I said, what is the end of your football season this year? And he gave it to me. I said, well, let's come to the Texas game, and we'll grab Archie, and I know he'll be coming there. And, of course, the Joneses and the Mannings kind of grew up many years together when we were all in the football business together. And so that excited him. So we were coming to the Texas game, and then Verge called me and said, well, we got to pick a game. And I said, well, I'll be to a couple, but Texas sounds good. And he says, I'm glad you picked Texas. That's the one we wanted to do.
Oh, man. So your grandson's first game in Tiger Stadium is going to be his grandfather having his jersey retired. That's pretty sweet, Bert. That's a really
actually,
cool
it's his
moment.
second game.
Oh, he's been. Okay.
Tiger.
Okay.
All right, so his first game was equally as memorable. That's the game that Archie Manning introduced me as the newest member of the College Football Hall of Fame.
Amazing. Well, you've spoiled him. I don't know that he can come now, Bert. He's going to expect you to be honored with some incredible award every time, or distinction every time he comes into Tiger Stadium now.
No, he knows who I am. This is not normal.
Understood. Man, it's incredible. I know there's a whole, there are generations of LSU fans that are going to be able to celebrate that day. People who enjoyed watching you play, people who have heard your stories in the game calls of you playing. Before you go, Bert, I'd love to ask you, I'm sure people always come up to you and say, Bert, I was there the night the clock stopped, or whatever the case may be, their favorite moment of watching you play. What about for you as a kid watching the Tigers? Do you have a favorite game or memory that you remember watching in the stands?
Well, I never went to an LSU game until I went to LSU.
Interesting.
As crazy as that sounds. But remember, I grew up in an environment where my father played until I was 5 or 6 years old professionally. And then when I was 10, he became the offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. So I became the ball boy from the Cleveland Browns from 1962 until the year I went to LSU. So my involvement with football, of course, we had Louisiana Tech and Grambling, and I was very close to that. Coach Eddie Robinson and my father were best friends. And I had a brother that played at Louisiana Tech that's older than I. So I was involved there. But anytime we went to a football game, it was to Cleveland to go watch the Cleveland Browns. Anything outside of high school or local, Grambling or Louisiana Tech. So literally the first game that I came to in Baton Rouge was when I was in school.
That's amazing. Well, you've been able to create many memories as a player and now obviously post-playing days, and it's going to be great to be able to celebrate all of LSU and the entire fan base, be able to celebrate on November the 14th when that number 7 joins the other great former players, as you mentioned, Bert Jones. I know it's a busy day. I know you've had a lot of calls, but thank you for taking ours and for taking a few minutes. Congratulations, Bert. We'll look forward to maybe talking to you closer in November.
I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you very much for your call.
It is absolutely our pleasure. The great Bert Jones, the first quarterback to earn first-team All-America honors in LSU history. Of course, won the 1970 SEC championship, was 4th in the Heisman voting in 1972, was the number 2 pick of the NFL draft, was the 1976 NFL MVP. Neck injury cut his pro career short, but finished with 17,000 some odd passing yards in his pro career. Just one of the all-time greats. And a year after the great Charles Alexander had his number 4 retired, now Bert Jones will have his number 7 retired this November in Tiger Stadium. Awesome. We're thrilled for Bert. I want to give you some more reflection there on that a bit later in the show. We're brought to you by our show open every day, I should say, is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the Tigers. And I just got a note today from Courtney, my friends over at Mockler, that the new football season cans and aluminum bottles are hitting the shelves. They're done, they're designed, and you can start to look for them now at great local retailers. So tailgate season's right around the bend. It's really cool with the sort of the just different theme on there as well. The purple and gold stripes that you see on the on the jerseys they have there on the top of the can. We'll have some of the cans and bottles in studio with us soon, but be on the lookout for the officially licensed LSU bottles and cans and aluminum bottles that'll be hitting store shelves soon. Drink easy with a great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of your Fighting Tigers of LSU. Okay, y'all, it is after further review. Hump Day shows are brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Thrilled for Bert Jones. We appreciate him for taking a couple of minutes. We'll go from a former Tiger great to a former Saint great. Stan Brock is actually set to join us next. Stay here. It's AFR.
AFR.
If you're thinking about putting in a pool, start with Duplessis Pools. Start with DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com. The website is such a useful tool because right there on the homepage at DuplessisPools.com, they have a little icon that says pick your pool. And so whenever you select that, it'll give you 11 different pool designs. So you can go through that process right now, online, on your phone. If you're sitting at your desk, don't do this if you're in traffic. Now, if you're at a red light or something like that, you're just in dead stop traffic, okay, but pay attention to the road. Or maybe do it when you get home. But pull up the website. You'll see all the different pool designs. You can select your finishes, tiling, coping. Do you want to different water features, lights in the pool, all that sort of stuff. And then you can pay for it, finance it right there at the website. You could do you could be done with this whole thing in 5 minutes from right now and have your pool designed and ready to roll. It's at DuplessisPools.com. Check them out online at DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Well, sometimes timing in life works out really well. We are expected to have former New Orleans Saint great Stan Brock, of course, called games for the Saints and has done TV in the Portland area for many years, also the former head coach at Army. We're set to have Stan Brock join us right now. Actually, just some breaking news while we wait and try to connect here with Stan. Nick Underhill tweeting just a moment ago while we were talking there with Bert Jones. Very simple tweet. Alvin Kamara and the Saints are finalizing a new deal. There is the extent of the tweet from Nick Underhill and the update. It's the thing that really there were only two options that were going to happen here with Alvin. Either Alvin Kamara was not going to be back in New Orleans, or he was going to be back in New Orleans on a reworked deal. After they invested the money they did into Achin, that we always say it, actions speak louder than words. It signaled the end of Alvin Kamara's time in New Orleans under his old deal. So if he wanted to accept a rework contract at a lesser rate, a lesser number, he certainly was able to do that, or his time in New Orleans could have been done. But Kamara's been pretty open. He wants to play his career in New Orleans, and apparently they're going to work that out, which is fantastic. Whenever we get terms of that deal, we will pass it along to you. Every now and again, it drops in the inbox. We get a chance to visit with former New Orleans Saint, great member of the Saints Hall of Fame, Stan Brock. And he's with us today to talk some NFL, but also on behalf of HeartFlow's Game Film Registry, which, look, I'm bullish on men taking care of themselves and being proactive about health. So it's a great opportunity to have Stan on the show. And we're glad to welcome New Orleans Saint Hall of Famer Stan Brock back to AFR. Stan, we appreciate the time. How are you?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I'm doing great.
Well, it's our pleasure. Thanks for the time. I don't know if you heard, as we were coming, this news just broke just a few minutes ago. The Saints and Alvin Kamara are working on a new deal, a restructured deal that'll have him continue in New Orleans. I don't know how much you've been able to follow that situation, but I'm just curious your thoughts on a guy that looks like he's going to be able to finish his career in New Orleans.
Well, I think that's what that's what he wanted, and it sounds like to me that that's what he wanted, and so I'm really happy for him because I wanted to finish my career in New Orleans, but I wasn't given that opportunity. So I'm glad that they're doing that.
It worked out for you. You got to play in a Super Bowl with the Chargers, which is where you finished up your career. Stan, by the way, do you ever get to make it back to New Orleans?
I do. Yeah, heck yeah, I come back to New Orleans.
You get it's just because you're living in Portland, right?
Yeah, I live in Portland, Oregon, but I love Louisiana. I love the state. I love the people, the food, fishing, and the hunting. I love it all. I just love it. I loved my time down there.
Yeah, man. It was interesting when I knew we were going to have you on. I went back and looked up your bio and everything. And so your last year, you tell me if I'm wrong on this number, but your last year in San Diego, and it was 95, but you were 37 years old, right, when it was your last year in the NFL?
Yeah.
Okay. So you would have been the same age as Kellen Moore as his first year as a head coach.
How about that?
How would you have handled that if you had a head coach that was your age?
Well, I think it's all about respect, right? It's all about respect, and people. Respect isn't just given away. I think that people earn respect. So I respected people who are younger than me, and I'm quite certain that there's a lot of guys on that team that have a great respect for Kellen.
Yeah, you were. I think people know you were a head coach as well. A couple seasons there at Army during your coaching career. From a coaching perspective, how do you think Kellen Moore did in his first year in New Orleans as a head coach?
I think he did well. I think, and quite honestly, there's a lot of things, right? There's a lot of moving pieces when you're the head coach, and so to be able to get everything kind of focused in one direction, and then now this year should be even better.
Stan Brock is with us. I want to talk some more football in a second, Stan, but we have you on behalf of HeartFlow's Game Film Registry, and when I got this into my inbox, it was interesting. I think my audience knows this, Stan. Like I'm very proactive with health and pushing men to make sure you take care of health and be proactive in checking. And I was reading through this release, using AI for heart health and for not only athletes, but regular people. Like, give us a little sense of what this is and what you're doing today to promote heart health.
So I was introduced to this through Jim Kovach. And I don't know if you remember Jim, but he was a linebacker for us in New Orleans when I first got there. I think he was in his second year from Kentucky. And so Jim Kovach called me and asked me if I would help try to get the word out with HeartFlow. And so I said, yeah, tell me a little bit more about it. So he kind of got me linked in what was going on. And it's the ability to actually look at your heart in a 3D motion. You can see the the arteries and where the blood flows and how it's flowing and how much plaque is actually in there and how that plaque is affecting the flow. So I went up to Seattle, Washington to get it done. And it's basically a CAT scan. You lay down in a CAT scan. They put some dye in you, but they take a look at it. Then they can show you on the computer a 3D image of your heart, and they can rotate it around and look at all the different arteries and seeing how much plaque you have built up and what the actual what the pipe looks like. It's like looking down a pipe and you can see that there's, dirt and things inside of there. So you could actually look through or it shows you on that 3D image. And it shows that I do have some plaque buildup and something needs to be done and something needs to be taken care of. So, I'm happy I'm so glad that I got to do that, right? And what a great opportunity. Otherwise, they're just looking at, high blood pressure. They're looking at, I don't know, other little things that they can kind of fix or maybe fix, but they never have a real look at your heart and how that's working.
Yeah. I know this is something like the statistics are alarming that 1 in 3 former NFL players have cardiovascular disease. Is this something for everyday non-former athletes, like just everyday people like me?
Yeah, I think that's where it really kicks in. I think the reason that they use that statistic is that you would think as a professional athlete, like they've been taking care of their body for so long, and if it's killing, so many of them. I heard today a cardiologist doctor told me today that more people will die of heart disease than will die of cancer.
Yeah.
And so, this is everywhere. Everyone has it, and it's could be hereditary. It could be a lot of different things. I'm not a doctor, but I know that when I can look at things and see it, it makes sense to me.
Heartflow.com/gamefilm. That's the website, heartflow.com/gamefilm. If you want to check it out, when you scroll to the bottom, you can see where you can fill out the little form to join the registry. If you're interested, heartflow.com/gamefilm. If you want to learn more there. Stan Brock is with us, former New Orleans Saint, great member of the Saints Hall of Fame, former first-round pick, played offensive tackle. But by the way, the Saints have spent their last 2 years first-round picks before this year on offensive tackles. You have any thoughts on watching those young guys, Banks and Fuaga, and what your impressions have been from them early in their career?
No, not really. I wouldn't want to. I haven't seen enough of them.
Sure.
Like I basically get to watch it on TV, or if I come to New Orleans for a game, I'm usually sitting up there, not concentrating.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Does that make sense?
No, I can not believe me. In New Orleans, I believe there might be a few distractions, and there very well should be. So let me ask you a different question then. You came to New Orleans in 1980, and obviously the franchise wasn't very good. But during your time there is when you all built to making the first playoff appearance in 1987 and winning the division for the first time, and those good years before you left for San Diego. It's not what because the Saints have had success in the Peyton Breeze era, but they haven't been in the playoffs in 5 years. And all of those players, except for Alvin Kamara, Cam Jordan, largely are gone. So they are in many ways, Stan, rebuilding this organization. What are the things, as you recall or remember or see, the building blocks that need to fall in place for this team to get back to being a contender?
Well, it's all personnel. It's all, they talk about X's and O's, but everyone knows it's Jimmy's and Joe's, right? It's the players. It's the people. It's the players who make it good or not successful. Coaches have a little bit to do with it, I would say, but I would think mostly it's the players. Yeah. So we were fortunate enough to get a good group of guys, and if you remember, it was basically Bum Phillips' first draft class, and it had Ricky Jackson and Hokie guys, Jim Wilkes, Frank Warren. The list goes on and on, but that's what it was. It was people. It was the guys that play in the position. So I don't know. Coaching makes a little bit of difference. They can kind of rally and bring everybody together. And I think, let me see, I think coaches can lose it, but it takes the players to win.
Stan Brock, before you go, you got so you're up there in Portland Lake. It's mostly Seahawk country, I would imagine, in Oregon, yeah? Or is it more like 49ers, like Northern California?
Well, there you go. That's what it is. It's either the Seahawks or the 49ers.
What's so you growing up there? Who was your team growing up?
There was no Seahawk here.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
When I was growing up, I was born in the 1900s. Remember?
So you were a Niner fan?
No, I was not. I was a Green Bay Packer fan.
Okay. I was about to say,
we didn't get to watch very many football games, but the Green Bay Packers were on all the time. Plus, Jerry Kramer was one of our idols from Idaho.
Sure. So, man, being in the old NFC West, when the Saints were in the West with the Niners, man, if you'd grown up a Niners fan and then had to play against them, that would have sucked.
No,
especially in all those great Montana teams and everything. You got a Super Bowl pick? I mean, the Seahawks won it last year. You got a Super Bowl pick this year? This team you like?
No, I don't. I don't have a pick. I couldn't tell you. I like for the Saints to get back in there, though. How about that?
I would love to see it. From your lips to God's ears, let's make it happen. Former Saint great Stan Brock. Hey, remember, y'all check out the website as well that we were talking about there with heartflow.com/gamefilm. Heartflow.com/gamefilm. Stan, we appreciate the time. It's always great to visit. Thanks for a few minutes.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yep, it's our pleasure. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. With locations all over South Louisiana. Remember, name brand tires at wholesale prices. Lots of people hitting the road for vacation, maybe that last vacation here in July before the kiddos head back to school. Maybe you're hitting the beach or going up to the mountains in Tennessee or wherever you may be going. Before you hit the road, make sure your vehicle is ready to roll. Take it to Shaw Bills. They can rotate your tires. They can get you new tires if you need that. Maybe some type of alignment issue, whatever's going on with your vehicle, with the tires or under the hood, they can help you out at Shaw Bills. So schedule your service online, find the location nearest you, talk with an associate online, shop tires online, all their dealer specials right there at ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. It's Shaw Bills. We keep you rolling. All right, y'all, it's After Further Review right out the gate. Bert Jones, Stan Brock. A good way to start the show. We'll knock out a break, come back, we'll go around the SEC. ACC football media days going on. Clemson takes their turn tomorrow, so it'll be interesting what Dabo has to say. And the Clemson guys, obviously, as they open up with LSU and Tiger Stadium, so that should be notable on Thursday. But one sort of notable thing that came out is of ACC Media Day today is the new ACC tiebreaker, which we'll dive into that, and we'll go around the SEC when we continue. We're glad you're with us here. Stick around. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by River Cities, 1 hour air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-0001, 752-0001, 752-0001, or 1hourbr.com. Love sharing 5-star Google reviews, and there's a never-ending supply because they have more than double the amount of 5-star Google reviews of their next closest competitor. Linda Stanley sent this 5-star Google review. DJ, the technician, did an awesome job. He was very professional and polite. He explained everything to me. He took his time and did the job. I am very pleased with the work. Brandon said Bobby was great. Was able to diagnose the problem quickly with great communication, and go on and on and on. Because when you do great work at a fair price, people are going to be thrilled with the work and they're going to sing your praises. That happens every day at River Cities 1 hour air. So look for the big yellow vans and trucks with a giant clock on the side. It's River Cities 1 hour air, 752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. You know, so many benefits to going to work for River Parish Contractors. First of all, they're going to keep you busy. It's not one of those things where they're going to hire you and then they're going to lay you off in 2 weeks because they're out of work. They recently, I think I've told you this, they recently put a bid on four significant projects, and the hope is maybe you land one or two of them. They got all four. So they've got tons of work at River Parish Contractors, which means they need you. They're going to keep you busy. They offer health insurance, all the benefits. You pay time off, obviously. As much overtime as you want to work, they got it. A lot of companies maybe will give you a good wage, but they don't want you to work overtime. Not the case at River Parish Contractors. Almost called them River Parish Overtime. Might as well be, right? You want overtime? They got it at River Parish Contractors. So, rpcontractors.com. Call Big Jake. Get in touch over there at River Parish Contractors. Go visit the shop. right there in reserve. rpcontractors.com.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Glad you're rolling along with us here. Hump Day edition of AFR, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. We missed Hump Day right out the chute. That makes sense because we had Bert Jones right out the chute.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, we didn't want to make Bert wait.
I think Bert would have been good with it.
You think?
Yeah. Bert's a good guy. Even keel. Rustin Rifle. Good old boy. Likes to hunt and fish.
That's what they called him. That's what they still call him.
I did.
Yeah.
I called him that. Pretty exciting, man. LSU announced today they're retiring Bert Jones as number 7. That'll happen in Tiger Stadium November 14th for the Texas game. He told us he was already planning to come to the Texas game with his grandson, who lives in, he said, Seattle. So his grandson was coming in for the Texas game, and so they were already planning to attend. So worked out. It's going to be a pretty significant day in Tiger Stadium. We look forward to that. So congrats to Bert Jones. We'll give you some more perspective on that as we move throughout the show today. So we're glad to have you hanging out with us here. We'll go around the SEC in just a quick second. The ACC Media Days are happening right now in Charlotte. Clemson will take their turn tomorrow, so we'll have a lot to talk about with Dabo and the Clemson players that take their turn. But remember, this past year in the ACC, there was a 5-way tie for second place. And that put Duke in the ACC championship game, which, of course, they went on to win. But it put Duke in the ACC championship game over Miami last season. And so Miami, which ended up going on to made the playoff and went and made their way to the national championship game, with Duke beating Virginia in the ACC championship game. But Miami still got in the playoff. But that was not without controversy. There were a lot of people who thought maybe Notre Dame should have had that spot. Anyway, one thing that college football has done over time is even as I think back to the BCS, when they were met with controversy, they were willing to amend the process, look at the process, be malleable, and change, which I can compliment college football for that, because not every organization, not every athletic organization is willing to do that. But college football, I remember every year they would tweak the BCS formula. And similarly here, the ACC was faced with a bizarre situation with a 5-way tie. I think it's unlikely to happen again. It's certainly possible, especially as you talk about 16 leagues with 16 members and not playing a dozen league games. Right? You're going to have situations like this with fewer games and more teams. Well, the ACC's announced a new tiebreaker, and Jim Phillips described it as kind of getting the league into the right place to get its 2 best teams in that championship game. So the number 1 tiebreaker is head-to-head, and the ACC said no team will be overly rewarded or penalized based on the number of conference games that it plays. So the previously scheduled non-conference games, so 12 teams are going to play 9 ACC games, and 5 will play 8 conference games in 2026. Now, moving forward, you'll have 1 team that'll play 8 league games to address the ACC moving to 17 teams. I know, it's really bizarre, but because you're going to have a different amount of league games being played by member institutions, they have to come up with a way to navigate tiebreakers when you don't have head-to-head. You don't even have the same number of league games being played. So the ACC will use the team success ranking provided by Sport Source Analytics as a way to reward the team with the strongest body of work. Now, I don't know if I love this or hate this. They got to do something, and maybe this is the best of a lot of bad options. And the best option is everybody play the same number of games. But if you don't have that option this year, this is the best of the bad options. I will be fascinated to see, and And by the way, Duke got in last year because of conference opponent winning percentage. Not their conference opponent's winning percentage. That's how Duke got in over Miami last year. So I will be fascinated to see what the Sport Source analytics numbers say. To be very candid, I'm not familiar with Sport Source analytics. But I am someone who has long believed you have to have some type of objective metric to determine who plays for championships, because I don't need the group of self-important goons in the hotel ballroom in suburban Dallas debating things like game control. Like, I don't need their opinion of who they think should be in. Now, an expanded playoff cures a lot of those issues because you're going to allow for teams that deserve to be in, that we would debate, that will get into the playoff. But this is one of those things where maybe we look at Sport Source analytics at the end of this year and go, you know what? That looks pretty good. Maybe that is the way to go about doing it. And maybe as we look forward to a future 16 or 24 team college football playoff, we seed the field with some type of objective metric like the former BCS metric. For this, like, the thing about the BCS is, as much as people crap on it, the metric itself wasn't the part that was broken. The part that was broken was that you only had 2 teams. And generally you had more than 2 teams that were deserving of the opportunity to play for a championship. Well, you fix that with an expanded playoff. So how do we seed it? This could be a way to do it. So maybe it's a thing where a bad circumstance, like what's happened with the ACC with 17 teams and an uneven number of games among their teams, forced a different outcome, but it may lead us to something that overall is a net positive for college football. So we'll see how it all plays out. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by First South Farm Credit, firstsouthfarmcredit.com, firstsouthfarmcredit.com. If you're thinking of buying land, call our friends at First South Farm Credit. Your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. Remember, they got the Ultimate Recreational Land Buyer's Guide on the homepage of the website. It is an awesome resource. It is totally free. If you've never bought land but are thinking about it, the Ultimate Recreational Land Buying Guide is right there on the homepage at firstsouthfarmcredit.com. Start there. If you already own land, cool. You're a veteran. A lot of times, people will take equity they have in their current property, roll it into their new property. The bottom line is, at First South Farm Credit, their loan experts are experts in one thing: helping Louisianians buy land, because they've done that for more than 100 years. firstsouthfarmcredit.com, firstsouthfarmcredit.com. Okay, do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Wide receiver Cedric Simmons has flipped from Auburn to Alabama. He's the number 81 receiver in the country, the 25th best player in the state of Alabama. That gives Bama 14 commits for 2027.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
2 Sports star Matt Ponatoski has enrolled at Kentucky, choosing the Wildcats over Major League Baseball. So he was taken number 542 overall by the Reds in this past weekend's draft. Not only is he a Major League Baseball player, but he's also the 16th best quarterback in the country for the incoming freshman class at number 234 overall. So he is expected to play quarterback at Kentucky and pitch on the baseball team.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
Jake McCoy will play for Tennessee instead of signing with the Blue Jays. He's a left-handed pitcher, transferred from South Carolina to Tennessee, was selected in the 18th round, but will not sign with the Blue Jays. Instead, will spend the season with the Vols. He was 4-5 this past year for the Gamecocks. He did miss his junior season due to Tommy John when he was a projected first-round draft pick prior to the injury, but made 14 starts before missing last season with injury.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Familiar name Marcos Paz has his new landing spot, and it will be the Georgia Bulldogs. Appeared in 17 games for LSU this past season, was 1-4 with an ERA north of 9. It was a surprise when he went in the portal, but Paz has landed at the University of Georgia.
The Auburn Tigers.
And Auburn has added infield transfer, Cooper Sheff from UNLV. 295 with 8 doubles, 9 homers, and 38 RBI for the Runnin' Rebs last season. Played shortstop and third base. 6'4", 215. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. All right, there you have it. That is Around the SEC. Hump Day Show is brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. Marco's pause thing is interesting. So whenever Paz went into the portal, I remember it was a Friday night, and the first call I got alerting me that Paz was going to the portal was that A&M was the team that sort of lured him into the portal. And then after the weekend passed, Texas and Georgia had gotten in the mix as well, so it became a 3-team race for Paz. And it's interesting how that transpires sometimes because for all the talk about tampering, it's hard to bemoan. It's hard to bemoan it when it works against you and celebrate it when you do it. And I think what's important to note is we use the word tampering like it's a bad thing, and I suppose maybe it is. It's up to you to decide. I just know it's how it is. The rules state that schools cannot have direct contact with a player until that player is formally in the transfer portal. But every player has an agent now. And so the school can contact the agent, or an NIL director can contact an agent, or a collective manager can contact it. And like those third parties can have the conversation and negotiate a deal. So I think what happened here with Paz is A&M lured him into the portal. And once he formally went in the portal and other schools were aware that Paz was in the portal, it started bidding more. And so Texas and Georgia got in the mix, and clearly Paz now is headed to Athens, where he'll play for a guy who was a former LSU pitching coach and just had Georgia in the College World Series. So in West Johnson. So Marcos Paz, super talented guy, a guy that Jay Johnson has said he anticipated would be a weekend starter in the SEC before his time at LSU is over. He may be a weekend starter in the SEC, but it'll be in Athens instead of in Baton Rouge. All right, it's After Further Review. We'll knock out our final break of hour number 1. Stay here. It's AFR.
After Further Review.
Our Hump Day shows are brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. We talk to you about Goodwood every single day. And at Goodwood, I know, I get it. Like, it's a funny name, funny logo. People laugh, ha. The whole point of that is just to get your attention and have the conversation. And once you start having the conversation, what you'll find is that the services they provide at Goodwood are all about allowing men to live their healthiest, fullest, most vital lives. And for some men, that's, look, if you have ED, okay, deal with it. Like, there are options. They can help at Goodwood. But maybe it's hormone replacement therapy. Maybe it's peptides, which you've heard so much about. You want to just get more information? I recommend that anybody, any man, no matter your age, go into Goodwood, do the blood labs. They'll draw vital blood. They'll send it off to the labs. They'll give you a full picture of your blood makeup and give you a sense of how they can safely, affordably supplement you to get you feeling your best. yourgoodwood.com.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
I don't like reacting to other media people's takes. I think generally if you need to react to somebody else's take, then you're not creative enough to come up with your own. So I don't like doing that. But I do like pointing out hypocrisy when I see it. Jeff Goodman from the Field of 68 is a just raging hypocrite who is friends with a lot of coaches in college basketball, but continues to slam LSU and Will Wade for how the offseason has gone from Will Wade leaving NC State and then obviously building the roster the way he did. You might remember there was that viral clip earlier this offseason where Jeff Goodman was literally flipping off the camera on a podcast that he was on, talking about Will Wade, using a lot of expletives, and saying not a word about guys like Todd Golden or Sean Miller or Bill Self or Underwood or any of the other prominent coaches in college athletics who have gone the route of old international basketball players or G League players, Nate Oates, saying nothing about them, but only choosing to slam Will Wade. You can be opposed to that way of building a roster, and if you are, that's fine. I just need you to be consistent, and Jeff Goodman is not, and he was back at it again today on the Field of 68.
We're going to ask about the biggest loser in the SEC.
That would be LSU athletic director.
or president, whichever you want to pick. They're the biggest loser because they have to deal with the combination of a high maintenance football, men's basketball, women's basketball coach, and they're dealing with Rick Stansbury on staff at LSU, who's trying to come up with every loophole like he has to try to get guys eligible, Stansbury and Will Wade. So I'm saying it's not a specific coach or team. It is the leadership of Louisiana State University right now, and Shaq needs to step in. I think Shaq should be the new president of LSU.
Nothing but agenda-driven, biased nonsense. Whatever degree of respect I had professionally for Jeff Goodman is effectively gone, because it is nearly impossible to take anything he says now at this point forward with a shred of impartiality. It is just very clear he hates Will Wade for whatever reason that is, and it oozes out of his pores when he talks about it, and it's absurd. Listen, you don't have to like, again, you do not have to like the way that Will Wade built his roster. You do not have to like him leaving NC State after a year. You don't have to like the international players, the G League thing. There's a lot of it I don't like. I've told you, like, if RJ Lewis plays a minute of basketball for LSU, I will crush Will Wade and everyone associated with LSU basketball. But you got to be consistent. When you're not willing to take other coaches and administrators to task, it exposes you as an agenda-driven hypocrite, and that right now is what Jeff Goodman is. So I don't like reacting to other people's takes. I do like calling out hypocrites, and Jeff Goodman is at the front of the line. It's After Further Review. Hump Day Show is brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. We'll knock out a quick break. Where's Chris Olave among the top receivers in the NFL this year?
After Further Review.
I love telling you about Rouse's, the official supermarket of the Saints. As a matter of fact, I'm heading to Rouse's after the show. Literally, I'm leaving here and going right to the Rouse's on Airline near Highland, the one by Long Farm. We got Drew's birthday party this weekend. So Drew turns 12 this weekend. And so Saturday is his birthday. And Erica Moscona treats Drew's birthday like it's a federal holiday, like it's Christmas. Actually, this year is Drew's 12 Days of Christmas in July. They're all themed. She takes like 2 weeks and just hand makes all the 2 months, hand makes all the decorations. Anyway, so I'm headed to Rouse's right after the show because I got to go pick up all the beverages, waters and Cokes and Sprites and adult beverages, because Lord knows I'm going to need a few to get through. But beer and wine and all that good stuff as well. Look, if you need that or anything for a party or dinner tonight, get by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the Saints, with 76 locations from Lake Charles to Orange Beach. There's one near you. Rouses.com. Rouses.com. Rouses. This feels like home.